All right, shalom everybody. Or the people that are here and the people that are away and the people that are in the video, I guess. So thank you everybody for coming. This week I picked a topic from this week's Parsha actually. The topic could be very much halacha l'maaseh for many of us, and could be halacha l'maaseh in different times in our life for many of us, and we'll see. But after, I have a story to say before we start, because stories are always better than anything, right? So there was a friend of mine came to my house for Shabbos, and he left his coat there. He left his coat in the house, and I couldn't find my coat, and it was very cold outside, it's the winter, you know. So my friend didn't mind if I take his coat and go with it to shul, right? Am I allowed to take his coat and go with it to shul?
Depends how close you are to it.
So this question we'll see from this week's Parsha, a very big topic in halacha that from what I think is many people are not so familiar with the topic, and it comes halacha l'maaseh many times. So this week there was the Kriyas Yamsuf. Everyone are familiar with the Kriyas Yamsuf, and right after the Kriyas Yamsuf, the Bnei Israel wanted water. That was the next thing that happened right away, and okay, they had the water, and then after that, a fascinating story happened in the Parsha. Bnei Israel are coming and they say, you know what? We wish we were still in Mitzrayim. Hashem killing we would have died a natural death in Mitzrayim when we had food. We're now in the desert. You, Moshe and Aaron, took us out of Mitzrayim, and we're stuck in the desert with no food to eat. And we just wish we were in Mitzrayim. This is what Bnei Israel told Moshe and Aaron. So the response of Hashem, that Moshe and Aaron said b'shem Hashem, was, in the name of Hashem, was, we would give you meat tonight, in the evening, eruv, and in the morning you would have a bread, and that bread we know as the man. That was the next thing that happened. The bread. The next thing that happened was the bread that came down from Shemaim. So just before I continue, I want to introduce my dear brother-in-law that just walked in, and he helped me prepare the shiur today. And the reason I told him to come, he didn't want to come. He's like, it's why should he come to my shiur, right? So it's like, But I told him that there for sure will be questions that I will not have an answer. So what? Yeah, and chalent that he does not have at home. So thank you for coming. So basically, again, Bnei Israel are complaining we don't have food to eat. We wish we died in Mitzrayim a natural death with food. Rather, you, Moshe and Aaron, taking us out of Mitzrayim. That's the taina of Bnei Israel. So Hashem answers, Moshe and Aaron answer them in the name of Hashem, the following. He says, they say, you know what? Hashem is going to give you ba'erev meat. You're going to get fresh meat. And in the morning you'll get bread. And that bread turns out to be the man. That's what happened. And then, just an interesting side note just for Parsha, why the meat came at night and the bread came in the morning. So Rashi says that the meat, it's not because like in America you eat fleishiks at night and bread in the morning. That's not the reason. Rashi says that bread, it was okay for them to ask because a person needs bread. But meat, it wasn't okay for them to ask for two reasons. First of all, they had enough animals that if they wanted meat, they could have shech the meat. So why are they coming to Moshe and Aaron with a taina, with a, how do you say taina in English?
Claim.
A claim.
An accusation.
Accusation on Moshe and Aaron, where's our meat? You have meat, what do you want from them? Number two, a person could live without meat. So if you're in the desert and you're going out from slavery, you need bread, that we understand. But the extras in life, you shouldn't come with a complaint. And that's why the meat came at night, when at night, you don't really have the time of the day to prepare it. So it wasn't so convenient. It wasn't so convenient, the meat, when it came down. It's like, Whoever doesn't understand this, there's a simple mashal. If you come home for supper and the chicken is still in the freezer, you need to cook it. So like you also need to cook it, but you also need to wait for it to be defrosted. So whoever has that situation, I think could connect to what happened here with the slav. The chickens are flying in at night. You got to do the whole preparation and everything. You didn't have time to do it in the day. But the bread, which was a legit claim, they got it in the morning when they wake up and they have energy and they could go out and it's right there ready for them. So that's Rashi says two things. Okay, so now Hashem says, I'm going to give them the man and I'm going to test them with this man. I'm going to give a nisayon. Where is that pasuk? The pasuk is okay. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe, Hineni mamtir lachem lechem min hashamayim. I'm going to send you bread from the sky. V'yatza ha'am, the nation will go out. V'laktu dvar yom beyomo. They would take the amount of every day. Leman anasenu. In order for me to test him, hayelech besorasi imloi. Are they following my mitzvos or not? So Hashem is saying they need bread, right? They need bread, and Hashem is sending them bread. And Hashem says, "I'm giving them the bread, and I'm going to test them with this bread." So the obvious question is, what test is there? They are hungry. They want bread, and Hashem is giving them bread. So where was a test with this bread? So Rashi says, and it's the psukim later on. There's two tests that were with this bread, with this man. Number one is they were allowed to take a certain amount and not leave left over. They had to finish it. like here, whoever takes a bowl of cholent, the law is you have to finish. Right. What? Yeah. So over there also, it's the same thing. Whatever you took, you had to finish. There was no leftovers. Problem of no, sir. That was the first test, to see if they'll follow this law. Another law, on erev Shabbos, on Friday, they collected exactly how it worked. There's different Rishonim speak about it. Either they collected double or they had double at home and they got home. But basically, the same amount that they took every day, on Friday, they had double. And one was for that day, and one they had to keep for the next day. They had to keep it for Shabbos. And they were not allowed to go out on Shabbos and collect on Shabbos more. They had a problem. That was an Easter of Shabbos.
But it didn't fall on Shabbos.
It did not fall on Shabbos, but Hashem said, don't go out looking for it. Don't go out looking for it. You have enough food, you have a 2-day portion on Friday, keep one portion for the next day, and don't go out collecting don't go even looking for it the next day. That's the psukim. Now what happened? So this was a test. What happened? So on the first test, which was don't have any leftovers, it says in the pasuk, V'lo shamu al Moshe. They did not listen to Moshe. Vayosiru anashim mimenu. There were people that left over some of this month. They wanted some snacks for the next day. Vayorum tolaim. There was
worms.
Worms came up on it, and vayivash. It stunk. Vayiktof alei Moshe. Moshe was very frustrated at it. He was angry. He told them not to have any leftovers. And here's the test that Hashem said, I want to test them. They failed, right? Then, okay, that was the first thing. Then, vayiketu osu baboker. Every person in the morning he got up and he collected the man. And then vayhi bayom hashishi, they took lechem mishnah, like Hashem told them. They took 2 portions, and many halachos. Just on a side note that we have. For instance, why would we do lechem mishnah on Shabbos? It's l'zecher that on Friday they had 2 portions, so we do it on Shabbos. But it's coming to show that Hashem sent us 2 portions. Another thing is, why do we have tradition in Am Yisrael, which today a lot of people do a little different, but it used to be a tradition, which many people still keep, is they have a white tablecloth on the bottom, then they have the chalahs, and then they have on top of that another cover. The reason for that is because that's how the man used to come down. So l'chavod, how the man used to come down, there was first a layer of tal, of dew, and then on top of that the man, it was like a sandwich, and then dew on top. So that's like the tablecloth, the challah, and the cover. That's the minhag. It comes from this thing that we do it on Shabbos. However, then
people have a base for it, challah cover.
yeah, that's
Piece of wood.
and they also have like colorful tablecloths today, and they have but I think the wood came from the cutting. In the olden days, I don't think they had cutting boards.
It's like
Well, because you're saying that's the bottom layer is the board. Okay.
What about
Maybe.
the white tablecloths and shul on the
That-
tables? Does that have anything to do with that? Or?
No, nothing to do with that. That's a different week. We'll talk about that. Yeah. So now, okay. So there was the pasuk says there was a chiddush. Bnei Yisrael kept over. They left over a portion, and there were no worms in that portion for Shabbos. Right. The portion that the people left in the middle of the week had worms. The one they left for Shabbos was like, Hashem said to leave it, and actually there's no worms. The pasuk stresses on it, and then Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, this is what Hashem said, you'll have double and keep for the next day. Don't go out to the sadeh. Don't go out. And then what happens? Vayi bayom hashvi'i, comes Shabbos. Vayi bayom hashvi'i, yatzu min ha'am lilkot. There were people that left to take this they collect. V'lo matzo, they did not find. Actually, it did not fall down. Then the first time they missed the task, so Moshe Rabbeinu got angry. But this time already Hashem got involved. Vayomer Hashem Moshe, ad ana me'antem lishmor mitzvosai v'sorosoi. Till when are you me'antem is refusing. Very good. Refusing to keep my mitzvos and my Torah. And the Mefarshim say the mitzvos is the first the first halacha of leaving it over, and Toraso is referring to the law of Shabbos. That's the Ibn Ezra explains that. Now why? And then Hashem says, Re'u ki Hashem nosan lachem es Shabbos. Al kein hu nosen lachem bayom hashishi lechem yomayim. Hashem is giving you Shabbos. Because Hashem is giving you Shabbos, which whatever Shabbos has in it, that's why on Friday He's giving you 2 portions. Shivu ish tachtav. Each person should sit by his place. Al yetze ish mimkomo. A person should not leave his place, his makom, bayom hashvi. That's the pasuk, and then the next pasuk, very exciting. Veish besuam bayom hashvi. Okay, they kept Shabbos. That's the next pasuk. So this is what happened with the man. Now we learn from this that there's this law in Shabbos. Lefachos, the way Rashi explains here, in the Midbar for sure, they had a law that on Shabbos they weren't allowed to leave their place, but it says it twice. There's 2 versions of it. Al shevu ish tachtav, sit wherever you are and don't move. Al yetze ish mimkomo, and he shouldn't leave his space. The pasuk refers to 2 things. Number 1 is don't move from where you are. And the second one is, don't leave from your makom, from your space, not tachtav. Tachtav is like from where you are sitting, literally. And the second one is from where you're standing. And the second one is, don't leave from where you are, from your makom, So we learn from this, the Inyan Hilchos Shabbos and Yom Tov, 2 halachos that I think are very unfamiliar. And the reason I think it's very unfamiliar is because obviously everyone are just like me. And since I wasn't so familiar with them, so probably everyone else are also not. But for me, it was a big chiddush, these halachos. What was the chiddush in this halacha? It's mefurish in the Shulchan Aruch, and the Torah in the Shulchan Aruch. There is halacha of Shabbos, which we maybe remember from who knows when, that's called Tchum Shabbos, Tchumim. What is this halacha of Tchumim? So halacha is, there's we'll start like this. There is a machlokas tanaim if tchumim is deoraisa or derabanan, and this machlokas, interestingly, there was when they put Reb Lezer ben Azariah as a nasi, so they opened up the doors of the Beis Medrash and they let everybody in. Till then, you had to be you had to pay membership to get in, right? Yeah, the membership was tocha kabaro. But then, Later on, they opened up the doors and they said, whoever wants to learn Torah could come in, even though he's not on the high level of his inside and outside. And that day, they were kovel all the many halachos that there were a suffix that day. I don't know if it was a special siyata dishmaya or that day there were so many people they kovel the halachos.
So
And what?
That was Masechta City.
Yeah, and it's a Mishnah also in Maseches Sota. One of the things that there's an argument over there, and there was an argument there, is this tchumim. Is it deoraisa or derabanan? Is this isur to leave the tchum? We'll see in a minute what this tchum is. But this isur of tchumim, is it deoraisa or is it derabanan? Is a machlokes tanaim, and we paskin that's derabanan. But even if it's derabanan, it's learned from these laws of al yetze ish mimkomo and al yetze al ish tachtav. These two things. So what are these two things? There's a person is not allowed to leave his 4, I'm saying it first in a simple way, a person is not allowed to leave his 4 amos on Shabbos. Wherever you are, you're not supposed to leave 4 amos. Additional to that, you have another thing you could do, is 2,000 amos. Now, before I go to the next thing. 4 amos is if you don't have a city around you, or a house around you, or even if you're not inside like a gated place, or an eruv, or anything like that. You cannot move more than 4 amos. You're stuck. If you're in the desert or middle of a field, or you go away for Shabbos to a random place with a tent, you cannot go out your 4 amos. What? Well, no, if there's an eruv, so then the whole place is called one big daled amos. But I'm saying if there's a field with no eruv, you go to that place, you bring your nice trailer and you park it in the middle of nowhere, and you get a minyan and a sefer Torah, obviously, and all that. But you according to this, you're only allowed to go 4 amos. Now there's another thing that gives you 2,000 amos. What is this 2,000 amos? That's learned from the second thing of the pasuk. Al yetze ish mimkomo. You could be in a makom, and a makom of a person in our miles of today is 0.72 miles, right? According to the more machmir shita of the Chazon Ish, it's more mekel shita in this, because the Chazon Ish's amos were bigger. Usually it comes out that you need to do everything a little bigger, but here you have more space to walk on Shabbos. So according to the more machmir shita, which usually in halacha many times you don't go with, you could go only 0.72 miles. Now what if a guy takes a walk, and he walks 0.72 miles, and he doesn't realize, he continues to walk, and he leaves his 0.72 miles, which is not a lot. It's like, how long does it take to walk?
Outside the city.
40 minutes. Yeah, outside of the city. Or in a city, what?
20 minutes.
Or even in a city with, what?
14 minutes.
14 minutes? Okay, you're a runner. But,
It's a walker.
a walker. But any time you take a walk and you leave you go away for Shabbos and you take a walk, you get stuck that you're out of this zone, and then now you're not allowed to go anywhere. You're stuck in 4 amos. This 4 amos is a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. It's not like a chumrah or a kuva. Now it sounds, okay, when do I ever go away? There's many stories that happen. I'll just bring one out, and then my brother-in-law will come and explain how in the olden days they walked from Brooklyn to Manhattan. There's more space than that in the middle. What?
Isn't Brooklyn to Manhattan all populated?
Nope, it's not.
The bridge is not populated.
Bridge is not called populated. It's not called populated as houses.
How does this fit in with the code that you started with?
Oh, 1 minute. We'll talk about that in a second. Very good. Before I give the microphone to the Rabbi Aaron so the thing is, there was a story. I don't know how many years ago it happened, but pretty recently, I think. There was a snowstorm, and there was a bus from somewhere to Lakewood. And the bus driver, people wanted to get off. It was getting Shabbos, it was stuck, and the bus driver closed the doors and he did not allow anybody to get off. He said, I'm not leaving you in the middle of the way. I'm bringing you to Lakewood. It's a snowstorm, it's dangerous, it's this, it's that. He got to Lakewood on Shabbos. And now there's a problem. Because they had 0.72 miles from when the bus, when Shabbos came in. They got to Lakewood, and now they're stuck in 4 amos. And the whole Lakewood is not called one town because there's no eruv in the Lakewood. And he brought them to the parking lot. of where the buses are, and that's it. They were stuck there. So there were different kulos for different people. You're allowed to go to the bathroom in the house of someone or something like that, but they couldn't leave he brought them to a gated place, to the parking lot, that was so they could walk around. They weren't stuck literally in Daladamos, which is not a lot. But this is a halacha that comes up many, many times. I just brought one story, and I'll finish with one more story, and then I'll give my brother-in-law to explain how they measure things. He's an expert in eruvin. What?
Driving in the thing is considered like walking?
That space. You were mechuyev in it's not... what I think is that from where you have the shvisa, from where when Shabbos came, there you're allowed to 0.72. It's not about the walking distance. It's that whole zone. That's where you're allowed to walk. But if someone comes and tosses you out of there, a strong person comes and tosses you out of there, and he throws you more than a mile, and you land there. Basically, that's what the bus did. Then you're stuck, kind of. Maybe there is such a tzad, and I don't know. I'm just reading a story. Now, another thing is important to know is another mefurash Shulchan Aruch. It's not a chumrah. Just like you are not allowed to go more than 2.72 miles, also your clothing, your kalim, your anything that you own are also in this zone. Animals too. And it's a halachos, if you could give your animal to somebody that will take it for a walk, more than that zone. There's halachos in the Shulchan Aruch, because people used to give their animals to shepherds and stuff like that. And how could you work it out? You give it to them before, after, before Shabbos, and then they have there's these different things. Now, what I started with the question is, there's a question, if my friend lives, let's say in Muncie, and he leaves his coat in my house by mistake, and we're not talking about gzela now or anything, I cannot move his garment at all out of my house because he's in Muncie. And from Muncie to Brooklyn, it's more than 0.72 miles. So his garment is not allowed to travel according to his space.
Did he know that it was in your house?
What if he was
Or was he me'ashir?
But it goes according to where he is. It doesn't matter. It goes according to him. It goes according to the Bailim. It goes according to the Bailim. It's a machloket. Oh, so now because what I'm saying now I want to just say, right? Oh man,
I left my coat at a Shalom Zacher 2 weeks ago, and I went there on Shabbos because it was cold. Can I have my coat? Let's see what we're saying now. I was in trouble.
Could be. Yeah, so I just don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much in the halacha thing because I don't know too much.
Because the coat was there.
What about the owner of the coat? If he's in a place like in Israel, then Shabbos can be over. And
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Shabbos over his neighbors.
That's a different question. That's a good question. It's a different question. But Shmuley, come up. He's going to answer the halachic questions. He would know much better than me. And I just want to say his name is Aaron Troy, and whoever heard of Diane Aaron Troy in London, it's his uncle. So in London they have a lot of these problems because there's rivers, and is there eruv in London or not, and all this.
British are problems.
Because the British are also very into measurements, right? It has to fit. So he'll say how people used to walk back in the day. They used to walk from Brooklyn to Manhattan, from Williamsburg to Manhattan, and it's more than a space. And Rabbi Moshe, the question is, Rabbi Moshe never told them not to. So what does Rabbi Moshe rely on? That and more things like that. Go. Yeah.
So if you have
Come close, because it's very important that you should be for all the people. Both of us?
Yeah.
All right, whatever, the handsome one and the speaker.
If you have a house, if you have a city, any town with any house which is within 70 amos from that city is considered part of the town.
But what is 70 amos?
What?
Is it 70 and 2/3 or it's 70?
70 and 2/3.
What's 70 amos?
It's the if you 70 the root of 70 times 70 is 5,000. 70 and 2/3. 70.6666 times 70.666 equals 5,000. So that's the square root of 5,000, which is if you have an area which is 100 by 50 amos, right? 100 amos by 50 amos. If that area is walled, has an area around it, but the wall is not made to live there. Yeah.
Wait, can you?
Then the din is
Rabbi, can you simplify just when you're saying these numbers, 70 amos? What is it for me that I just know in my car how fast I go by miles? What would it be in miles or by feet?
according to Chazon Ish, is 2 feet to an amma. That's the most. That's the biggest amount. So it would be 140 feet.
So you mean to say that every two houses that are together, that how many houses do you need to make a city?
3 houses, but if once you have a city, then every house within 70 amos, which is about maximum 140 feet, is part of that city.
So the tchum starts again.
And then
So that tchum starts again.
the
Now,
0.73 miles always starts from the edges of the city, because the whole city is called one makom.
yes, and-
So if a bridge is more than 2,000 amos.
so 1 second.
Oh.
So every city, any house within the 70 amos of that city becomes is part of that city. Then, out of that city, you can count another 70 amos as just being the area outside the city, and then you count the 2,000 amos. Now, when do you consider, the Gemara says, what happens if you have a town that got breached in the middle, the wall, and now it's like 2 towns because there's nothing in the middle. So the Gemara says, if it's within 141 amos, 0.3 for you, then it's considered like 1 town.
The breach is
Right. If it's more than 141.3 amos, then it will be considered 2 towns. I'll just give you an example of that. When we were learning it, someone said, well, maybe Flatbush and Borough Park, Ocean Parkway, maybe is more than 141 amos.
Because what's 141 amos?
So I googled it, and you'll see it's 210 feet. And therefore, it is less than 141 amos. Right, so it's less than 141 amos.
not kashul to the carriage. The carriage is different.
We'll talk about it later.
No, we're not talking about eruv. So therefore, Brooklyn to Manhattan, right, is definitely more than 141 amos.
Wait, so speak in feet. It's really hard for me to translate it.
It's maximum 280 feet.
280 feet.
It's maximum 280 feet according to the Chazon Ish.
Just short 70 feet and
But even according to, but that's one point. So the question is how Brooklyn and Manhattan, Ocean Parkway is definitely okay. The question is how Brooklyn to Manhattan. And there is a sefer written on Tchumen who has gone to the lengths of the maps in Lakewood and has worked out that there could be a problem to walk from some parts of Lakewood to the other parts of Lakewood, especially over the lake where there's no one living there, and you could have a problem of that let's say you go till the lake, then your tchum will start from there, and you'll only have 2,000 amos from the end of your part of the city, just because that's also called Lakewood, that doesn't help anything. If there's a space in between of 141 amos, then that's going to be a problem.
It's not that the city is called a city with certain boundaries, but it's the technical measurements.
Right, you see from the Gemara says, if you have a city that gets breached in the middle, it's considered 2 cities.
So then how could everyone walk from Brooklyn to Manhattan if the bridge is...
Right, so that's the problem.
So maybe there's what's considered a living space. Maybe there's a security booth.
Okay, so
Very good.
let's get to that in a second. So now, when you want to work out a tchum, right? So you have a town, right? So you 2,000 amos out of the town, 70 amos. Before that, the Mishnah says that everything in Shabbos is a square. For example, you get every person gets 4 amos by 4 amos, yeah, in the Rosh Hashanah to carry as well. You get a square, which means that you get diagonally 5.6 amos, right? Because the diagonal, if you have a square of 4 by 4, diagonally it'll be 5.666, right? So therefore, theoretically, you can carry 5.6 amos
from one
diagonally.
corner to the next.
Now, the question is how you make that square. Does the square go? So that's a bit of a machloikus, how the square goes. Whether the square is, the diagonal is, if you're walking this way, then you have to draw the square like this. That's how the Mishnah Berurah holds. Chazon Ish, however, holds that you can draw the square however way you want. So therefore, theoretically, if you know the exact measurements, you could carry in the Rishus Harabim up to 5.6 amas. Now, if you have everything has to be a square. So in Tchum as well, you have a town, and if you map out a town, it'll come to some funny shape.
Let's bring an example. This is a town, so this is one house, this is another house, right? One here, and one here, and one here. There's no square, right? So how do you square it out? For Tchumim, for the 0.73 miles, you can walk from the edge of the town. But the town needs to be a square. But there's no square houses, so could I make the square? I make an imaginational square.
So again, if the town is square or rectangular, then you leave it the way it is. If it has 3 sides straight, or even 2 sides straight, then you will keep those sides. If, however, it definitely has no straight sides, which it probably have in most towns, then the din is that you square it off the ruchas sheba'olam, to the directions of the world. That means that you have a compass, so the corners will always be northwest, northeast, south. So if you want to, if you imagine the town, the corners will always be in the corners of the world. And therefore, if you have a town, let's say this is a town of a circle, right? So you'll have, you'll be able to go, you'll square it off, right? And then you square off another town 2,000 amas. So therefore it will come out, how far from the edge of this town can you really walk into the diagonally? Now number one, every square, you have 2,000 by 2,000, means diagonally, right, you have 2,800 amas, which is 56, right? If you're standing, that means, let's put it this way, if you're standing in the middle of the desert, you have 2,000 amas in each direction, which really means you have a box of 4,000 amas in each direction. Not in each direction, you have a box of 4,000 amas.
Well, because 2,000 in your front, the 2,000 in the back, and 2,000 to the right, and 2,000 plus 2,000 is 4,000.
Right.
Oh.
Now, which means diagonally, it will be 5,600 amas. Which means, if you don't go diagonally to any corner, you can walk actually 2,800 amas. So you're in the middle of a desert, you can walk, you have a box of 4,000 by 4,000, so you can walk diagonally 2,800.
It's like 2 miles.
Again, we'll have the same machlokas. So the Bishabur will hold that the directions will be to wherever you're going, and the Chazon Ish holds whichever way you want. So theoretically, according to Chazon Ish, you're in the middle of the desert, you can walk 2,800 amas that way. Now, obviously, once you've chosen your square, you can't change it on the same Shabbos. So, if you're...
Goes from the edge of the city, or...
I'm talking about, first of all, in the middle of the desert. So if you're standing over here, right? So let's say this is a tchum, I know it's not a square. This is 4,000 by 4,000. So then, let's say I really want to walk over here. So I can change my square to be like this.
According to the Chazon Ish.
According to the Chazon Ish. According to Mishnah Berurah, since I'm facing there and I'm walking that way, it has to go like this. Okay. Now, I have a town, right? I have a round town. Or have a funny shaped town. So number one is we're going to take the last house on each side, and from there we're going to square off the town. Right? So even though a house, finishes over here, but since there is a house over here that finishes, I square it off, and now I can walk from here till here, and then another 2,800 amas out. You understand?
Yeah, I get it.
So theoretically, you're leaving the town way more than 2,000 amas, even more than 2,800 amas.
Because there's always different edges with houses that you can always square around.
4,000 amos, you're still in the city next to the house?
No, you have 2,000 amas in each direction.
So 2,000, you're still in the city?
So if you're in a city, now we have to make this city into a not square, rectangle. It has to be straight side. So the problem is, I look at a map, let's say Brooklyn looks like right?
Yeah, okay, right.
So then we will square it off. This page of the Gemara, this is the city. So even though the city finishes on this side over here, I can still walk till here and then start my tchum.
So it's a square.
You have to make the city into a rectangle or a square. It has to be straight
Make
sides.
the squares no matter which place you put it.
Yeah. Let's say the city is round, right? For example, a round city.
So it's a circle. It's really
A circle. Then you square it off first.
So you get extra.
You get extra.
Yes, before you start the 2,000 amos, you have an imaginational city that's much greater than what you actually see.
Yeah, where you take that from that.
Right.
So you're not
Very
really
good.
leaving the city.
Here, hand it up.
Far
I
off.
think this is a good one. I think this is a good mashal. If this is the city, so there's houses all around, you get to put a napkin on top.
Well, it has to be a bit bigger than a napkin. If you want, after the share, I believe I have a picture on. No, I don't have it.
Oh, the back of the plate is better.
What if
Thank
the
you.
city is out of sight, but it's still within the box?
So it's fine.
So if what?
Fine, even if it's out of sight and you're in the middle of nowhere, but it's still inside the box.
Are you in the city or you're not in the city?
No, you're on the highway and the highway.
Oh, you're on the highway. You're not in the city.
No, you were in the city. You're in the
Where were you in the city? So tchum is Tola. You're koina shvisa bein hashmashos. Wherever you were bein hashmashos, that's where you're koina shvisa.
By the sunset.
Except obviously, if you have your house and you went out to davening, then you're koina shvisa in your house, not where you went to shul, because your das is where you're koina at home. But that's so that's number one. So now, when you talk about Brooklyn and Manhattan, yeah, if you would square off Brooklyn and you square off Manhattan, they will cross. So therefore, some shittas hold, therefore, that the squaring of the square that meets a square becomes like one city. That some shittas hold that.
So if the two squares intersect.
Yeah, it's one big city.
Well, we're not talking about carrying, we're just talking about walking.
No, we're only talking about walking.
Not carrying.
Carrying is
That's
a
why it doesn't
different.
mean anything about the stroller. It's about taking a walk, not about taking a walk
I
with the
can hear
stroller.
What?
If you reach the edge of
Anywhere.
Brooklyn and you're across
Yeah.
to Manhattan, are you carrying?
I'm not talking about carrying. Carrying is a complete. This is only about walking.
Let's say just walking.
This is
So therefore, according to this, you'll have a heta to walk over to Manhattan. Now there is one other heta.
that's what Fear mentioned, the other one.
Yeah, there's another heta based on the Mishnah. Mishnah that says about various places and shuls and bridges that have a beis dira,
What's a base zero?
a place where the guard lives or someone lives. This does not work with the Chazon Ish, because the Chazon Ish does not hold of this at all. Because
he has to sleep there or something.
no, even a tal booth where he eats, it's totally on way eating.
That's why always when you go to the cash lane, they're always busy eating. It's because they want that this shouldn't be an issue. That's
The Gemara says
what?
the Gemara says that if you eat in one place and you sleep in somewhere else, it's totally where you eat.
No, that's really because now there's no toll booth.
So they say that on the Williamsburg Bridge many years ago there used to be a toll booth, and even though it's not there anymore, that's possible. There's a Vazna tshuva and various other tshuvas that again will not work with the Chazon Ish, that therefore that will connect the two towns to be considered like one. That will be the heta for Brooklyn and Manhattan.
What if
So if you live in that toll booth, you can't go outside of the toll
vehicles?
booth?
Is that considered like a security?
Yeah, motorhome bridge.
There's always a cop car sitting there.
But let's
But
say
that's not considered.
They eat there.
They're not kavua there. That doesn't help. That's not kavua. The Gemara says a police. Well, a police car is not a dira. It has to be a dira. A police car is not a dira. It's not a fixed thing at all.
Okay, I just want to round it up, and whoever wants to continue after, I just want to round up with. Thank you. I just want to round up with one thing: is that Ibn Ezra in Chumash, when he says, "Why is this mitzvah called Tarosa? If they keep the Torah," he says Because this is the time of Shabbos. This is the taste of Shabbos. This particular halacha. He's regarding this halacha. So why is it this? Why does he call it the taste of Shabbos? So I think the explanation, but this is my own stomach. This the Ibn Ezra doesn't say. He just says the time of Shabbos. So why is it the time of Shabbos? So whoever wants to argue, feel free. But I think it's because Shabbos is a Yom Menucha. Shabbos is a day, just sit in your place. Don't go out looking for stuff, even though you'll say, no, I'm going on a walk and that's my Unik Shabbos. No. Shabbos is a day to just settle. Shabbos is a day to settle. And that's what Hashem is telling us in this. Now, we paskin in our day that's derabanan, but we see this idea. So I think what that we always like every week to take away something lamaisa from this. So here this week the whole shir is lamaisa because really you just need to be aware. Many times you go away or things happen. You just to know to ask a shayla, call up the Rav and ask him if it's okay or not. But I think we could also enhance our Shabbos of just realizing this Ratzon Hashem that He wants of just settling on Shabbos and living with Shabbos, as the pasuk says, Al Kain Asati LeBnei Yisrael. I gave them the Shabbos, so on Friday they should do their business, and on Shabbos they could just sit down. See, Ratzon, the Fachos, this Shabbos we should have it in mind, and when we read the Torah we should have it in mind of this menucha. And we should just have a little more awareness of these halachos of how much you're allowed to walk on Shabbos. And thank you everybody for coming. And again, thank you, Shmuley. And whoever has questions, feel free. He's still here. Do you want to answer?